Well, I came back from more pain and suffering on day 2 of Finnish Brutality, and I see that you did too. We have 5 more stages for you today, and there are some real bangers in today, literally and figuratively. Let's dive in. Today we start at stage 6. So day 1 we started with something super physical. Today we are starting with a serious marksmanship challenge, or well, a pistol only marksmanship challenge. So this one is cool. There are 3 little lights on the ground in front of 3 shooting spots, and there you go, you see one right there at the bottom. That every time you fire, one of the lights will automatically turn on, showing either green or red. What you have to do is go to that position and engage that orange target. If it is a green light, you have to engage it, well, there we go. If it's a red light, you engage it one-handed while holding the kettlebell. If it is a green light, you have to shoot two-handed, which means, in theory, I guess you could bring the kettlebell all the way up to your pistol. But what it really means is, like that, you have to drop the kettlebell, shoot two-handed, then pick it up and move to the next shooting position. So whether it is green or red is random, and which position you get is random, except that it will never be the same one twice in a row. Now you remember, perhaps from yesterday's video, I said I was going to be getting a bunch of malfunctions on my pistol in this match, and the reason is I was provided as pistol ammo 154 grain Gecko subsonic ammo, which has a bullet shape that just does not want to work super reliably in the Alien. So Alien's meant for bullets that kind of have a little bit of a point to them. That 154 grain stuff is sort of a flat point semi-conical design. And once I got down to half or a third of the magazine, I would start to get failures to feed. So I was able to figure them out and start getting them fixed pretty quickly today in the various stages, but that is something that I had to contend with. So I really like this stage. The way it is random. You'll notice there are poppers on either side of the steel target there. Those poppers are both no-shoots. So first off, from each position, you only have one shot to make your hit. If you miss, that's a penalty of 60 seconds. If you hit, oh, there we go, there's another one. If you hit one of the poppers and knock it down, that is a 60-second penalty for a no-shoot and a 60-second penalty for missing. You were required to make a total of 26 hits here. You had 180 seconds to do it, which was plenty of time. Well, it was enough time. But if you dawdled, if you weren't able to make quick sight acquisition and hits, then you would start to have trouble. And we did have a fair number of people who parred out on this stage. So here we go. My malfunction was the same thing every single time. It was just the flat point of the bullet would hit the feed ramp of the gun and stick. And the solution was to simply rip the mag out, reinsert the mag, and drop the slide. That's all it took to fix. So I got pretty good at doing that. I think I had 4 of those malfunctions on this stage. Normal ammo, the Alien doesn't do that. It's just this weird subsonic. So there it is. Stage is a little more physically exerting than you would expect, just because you're doing a lot of bouncing back and around with that kettlebell. But it went very well for me. From there, of course, we're going to get into our first Breacher evolution of the day. If you didn't see yesterday's video, Breacher is the extra challenge element you can add. If you are in the armored division of the match, you can add Breacher, which means after every stage, you have to do a typically 2 to 3 minute physical challenge. So this one here is a tire drag, and it is how many times can you pull the tire from the start to the finish, or from one end to the other, within a 3-minute time period, which doesn't sound like very much time until you start dragging this freaking tire, and then it becomes a whole lot of time. So we did this in sets of 3. I always felt like I was doing quite poorly because I was matching myself up against Jari, the CEO of Varusteleka, who's a certified badass, and Giga from Polinar Tactical, who has previously won Finnish Brutality. He is also a madman when it comes to this sort of stuff. So I'm not terrible at it, but I'm not super great, and compared to those two, I look like a little wimp here. So this got very tiring very quickly, as you may be able to tell. So while we watch me struggle through 3 minutes of tire drag here, I will mention that overall, Finnish Brutality 2024 was, I think, the best Brutality match I have ever shot. It was one I actually did really well in, but that's a separate issue from how good the match was. The logistics were fantastic. All the scheduling went on time. The RO crews were excellent. The stage designs were really good. Like everything about this match just went really well. So a total of 10 stages. We shot 5 every day. And the schedule was an alternating one where you would shoot a stage and then you would have 45 minutes to an hour of off time where you could get some food if you wanted, you could socialize, you could hang out, get to the next stage, reload mags. Like we were never rushed during the match, which was really nice. The stages were appropriately physical, which is to say a lot of them sucked quite a lot to shoot. It's like type 2 mandatory fun. The breacher evolutions were interesting and alternated between physically brutal and creative. Landmine burying was kind of cool. There's a more mental breacher evolution coming up later in today. And then, of course, there's the obstacle course at the end that was a lot of fun. So overall, this match was fantastic, which explains why Finnish Brutality tends to sell out in a matter of about 20 seconds when the tickets go up for sale each year. So, all right, I've got a couple more. I think I'm going to be able to get 1 or 2 more here. But I have very much slowed down. This is now just a brutal slog back and forth dragging this tire. And by the way, you had to use the full length of the rope to do it. They very specifically set the rules so that you couldn't do this more easily. You couldn't pick up the tire. You couldn't do anything like that. There we go. I have finished it. That is it for the first breacher of the day. So we're going to recover from that and move on to stage 7. This was an awesome stage. Unfortunately, you don't, because of the reflection on the window here, you can't really see what was going on at the beginning. You start in this car and you have to hit 2 roughly 6-inch in diameter balloons that are tied to roughly 3-foot tall sticks, tied to remote control cars that 2 of the ROs are driving around at random. So you actually have like random moving targets to engage. And I'm really surprised and impressed that I managed to hit both of them as quickly as I did. Follow that with 10 shots on a paper target and then a high value hit on that little steel target. This was one of the most difficult stages for a lot of people because you first had to hit random moving targets. And then there was a whole sequence of additional things in the stage. So first off, we're going to drag this dummy who's not super heavy. He's probably 100, 120 pounds. Drag him out of the car. Then you move on to the fixed rifle position. So there are 4 rifle targets here, 1 silhouette, and then 3 small plates. And it's at only about 25 meters. So first off, you'd better know your offset to be able to hit those plates because you can see the little wooden boxes that I'm stepping into. When you take a step into the box, you then have 7 seconds to hit each of the 4 targets. So 1, 2, 3, and back, and 4. Complete, no big deal. However, if you fail to hit all 4 within 7 seconds, like I do here, miss, 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 the ref will call penalty, or the RO will call penalty. Then you have to move to the center box and make 1 hit on the silhouette target, then go back to wherever you were and repeat the process. So you have to get the 4 hits in 7 seconds. It's not like, it's totally doable, but it's a mind game that you start overthinking it once you step in that box and you start worrying about how much time you have left. So I had 1 penalty other than that, or 1 penalty shot. Other than that, I make all the hits, except for that one. There's a high value shot at the very end. Because that unloads the rifle, the 180 no longer applies. And then the last section of the stage is a pistol section. It's simple. There's only 6 poppers. You just have to knock down all 6 poppers. But there are a lot of people who didn't get to this section of the stage. So I'm really happy that I did. This is probably the stage that I was most worried about. During the pre-match for the ROs to actually compete, I helped to referee this particular stage. So I knew what I was getting into here. I had the 1 60-second penalty for missing the high-value shot. But other than that, I made it in time. Very happy about that. All right, next, breacher evolution. This is the more mental one. So it starts with 10 burpees. Well, without the jumping portion, just chest to the floor and then stand back up 10 times. And then all you have to do is complete a puzzle designed for 3-year-olds. So they had a couple of Moomin puzzles. If you're not familiar with Moomins, it's a little animated character from Finland. And very simple puzzles. However, you had to start winded. The pieces all start upside down, and the puzzle is actually oriented away from you. So I'm sitting there looking at the top of the puzzle instead of the normal orientation you would normally see it. I know that with a puzzle, you start with the corners, then you fill in the edges, and then you get the center. Now, what made this a little trickier is at fairly rapid intervals, as we were putting the puzzle together, the RO would shout either wall, in which case you had to go touch the far wall and then come back, or would shout push up, in which case you had to do a push up. So these puzzles were not hard by any means. You can sort of see it here, but the outline of the pieces is actually scribed into the base of the puzzle. So not too hard to do, but doing it while you're winded and the puzzle's upside down and you have to keep stopping and starting like this. A surprising number of people had trouble with this. I think in total, out of 49 people in Breacher Division, 18 people parred out on this. You had 4 minutes to do the whole thing. I actually did very well on it, relatively speaking. So, but man, it got frustrating. You get like one piece in, it seems, and then you'd have to go do something, do a push-up or run to the wall. Almost there. I got 2. Nope. Got to do a push-up. And last piece. Come on, come on. And there it is. All finished. This was a good one. Like, I can do the mind games. There we go. All right. Stage 8. Another really cool stage with a really unusual element to it. Something that I have not had the pleasure of doing in a brutality match or any other match for that matter. So this is a pistol-only stage. You start by simply putting 6 hits on that small paper target and then clearing a dueling tree. Now, it's not the world's closest dueling tree. It's a little bit of a shooting challenge, but I'm able to clear this pretty quickly, and that's when the fun starts. We go to the back of the bay, and we have a guy in sparring pads, and you have to wrestle with him for 20 seconds. Now, this is pushing only, no striking, no tripping. You can grab the upper leg or the chest, but the goal here is to push him back across that orange line, which I just did there, which gets you a bonus on the stage. There's a matching line on the other side, and if the wrestler pushes you across the line, you get a penalty on the stage. So you fight with him for 20 seconds, and then you have to come back and clear the dueling tree again, flipping all the plates back to the opposite side. So I have a couple malfunctions, that exact same stupid flat-nosed bullet feed malfunction on this stage, but I also actually ran out of ammo and had to reload. So here's my second wrestling section. And this was sort of scored on a curve. It was the wrestlers would push back with essentially they wanted you to give 100%. And if you gave 100%, they would let you push them across the line, even if you were a small person who normally might not be able to. If you didn't give 100%, that's when they would exert more effort and shove you across the line for a penalty. So, got one more. Gotta clear the plate rack. Time number 3, and then we go back for a third wrestling section. So you had the opportunity to get a bunch of bonuses here. The bonus was worth 40 seconds, which was really substantial. And it meant a couple of bonuses could make up for some of those 60-second penalties that you had probably acquired by this point elsewhere in the match. I got bonuses on the first 2 sections and just barely pulled off a third bonus right there. So it's 20 seconds. So even if you get the bonus or a penalty, you have to reset. But I typically manage to get a bonus after about 18 seconds. So after the third wrestling section, you just have to clear the dueling tree one last time. There you go. There's the last of my malfunctions for this stage. I was really happy with this. It was a lot of fun. I managed to get, like I said, 3 bonuses here and did pretty darn well on this stage. It was a cool element. The force on force was something you just don't see elsewhere.
How hard could that possibly be? And other idiotic comments.
Yeah, when you see something that looks pretty simple for a Breacher Evolution, you know it's going to be gnarly. These cans are all full of dirt or rocks or something. I don't know what was actually in them. You have to carry all 4 of them around a cone that's probably about 100 yards away. I was initially thinking I could just carry them by the small handles. Yeah, it turns out not so much. They weighed too much. So we had these 2 belts that you were allowed to use. You could do whatever you wanted with them. So I went ahead and strapped them to those small handles on the front of the ammo cans and figured I would do this by heaving them over my shoulders, much like Jari did right there. Giga from Polinar is going to do this the seriously hardcore way. He sets them up the same way and then just carries them in his hands, which is kind of nuts, but he is also in extremely good shape and he is going to crush my time on this, even though I think I've got those cans set up in a much better way to carry. So there's a cone way up on the top of that hill that looks an awfully long way away from here. You could do this carrying 1 or 2 cans at a time if you wanted. They didn't care how you did it, if you used the straps or not. You just had to get all 4 cans around the cone and back to the starting place. So I think pretty much everybody decided that it was better to go slowly and carry them all once than to go faster and carry, and do it twice. So that's what everyone did that I saw. Jari crushed us both on this. Giga was a little bit behind him, and then I was trailing in 3rd. Although being partnered up with these 2 beasts, my performances were a little better than they felt like after I came in 3rd out of 3 every time. There we go, almost done. Come on, push. It gets hard to push. I don't have the drive to kind of put out the 110% that Giga does every single time. So that's that Breach Revolution, and that brings us to stage 9. It's a good match when the easiest stage of the entire match is the one that has 2 spinners on it. So Jari put this one in as a way to kind of help people get over a mental blockage on spinners. There was, first you drag a tire out and then engage a pistol spinner, then you're going to drag the tire back and shoot the other spinner with rifle. And both of these spinners were actually lubricated, which is not something one normally does. There we go, yet another flat nose issue with the pistol. And another, come on. You don't normally lubricate the spinners. Normally they are dry and there's a ton of friction on them. These spinners went over super easy. So there's a high value shot with the pistol. Now that the pistol's empty, it's safe to reholster it. I'm going to drag the tire back and engage with rifle. The whole idea here was to give people an opportunity to complete spinners without so many people timing out, without them being as much of a horrible challenge as they can be if they are totally dry and there's a lot of friction in them and they slow down super fast. So this was extra easy for me because I'm shooting 7.62 by 39 here, where if I can manage to hit the spinner, it will only take like 3 shots to spin the thing over. So there's number 2, and there's number 3. And then make 1 hit on that small plate, and it's done. This was, like I said, easiest stage of the match. It's the one with both spinners. All right, last breacher. We do not have a breacher evolution after the 10th stage, so this is the last one. It is an obstacle course, 2 people at a time, so of course I am paired up with Jari. Jari is he's a beast. So the obstacle course here, the only real obstacle per se was that log that we had to go over. The rest of this is natural terrain in a construction zone. So they're actually in the process of significantly expanding the shooting range where Finnish Brutality is held. By the way, a big thanks to Kit Badger and his sons for providing me with the drone footage that they took of this stage. Jari did use me as a bit of a ladder to climb out of the water there. But they're massively expanding this shooting range to include a 1,000-meter range. And so there were lots of piles of dirt and piles of rocks and mud and all sorts of good stuff here. And I got off to a fast start, and then things slowed down a bit as the obstacle course continued, as I got winded. The other sort of obstacle here is that red rubber tarp thing that's over some of the construction debris, and you just have to crawl through it for 25 or 30 yards. There is Jari, and he's off to finish the course, and I'm coming. I'm going to make it out of there. Come on. There we go. And a sprint to the end. And that is the last of Breacher for Finnish Brutality 2024. These were good stages. They were short enough that they didn't prevent us from really enjoying the match, but they were definitely physically challenging.
That was fun.
And yeah, obstacle courses are fun. All right, very last stage of the match for us. This was designed to sort of simulate, well, to have a storyline. So the idea is you're doing some shooting. We're putting 10 rounds on these paper targets. I actually forgot to open my aim point cap there, so I just binned the first target, which worked perfectly well. Anyway, you're hitting targets, you're engaging stuff. We have a high value shot here, which renders the rifle empty and the 180 no longer applies. Then you capture some intel. So there is an intel package here that is going to describe what you have to shoot at the last section of the stage. I went ahead and pulled out a pen and I copied this down onto my hand to make sure that I remembered it correctly. Then you're going to grab a demo charge out of the car. It is an actual demolition charge. Well, it's an actual explosive charge. Well, I should say it's actually very fast burning powder. It's not technically an explosive, but you're going to hang it on the quote unquote door of the building. You have to wire it up. This is all done on the clock. If the charge does not detonate and it is determined that it doesn't detonate because you messed this up, then you get all sorts of penalties on the stage. So set the charge up. We're then going to do a bit more shooting here. We have to engage those steel targets from a couple different positions around this car. And then we have one more high value shot off the back. There we go. Nothing in this stage was hard, but it was there were a lot of elements to the stage, things that you had to remember. There was a process to go through the whole storyline here. So once I've finished these rifle engagements, I am then going to hook up that blasting charge to our detonator here. Gotta clamp these wires in. I was deliberately not trying to do this like as super fast as possible. I wanted to do this stage deliberately. Here we go, fire in the hole. And kaboom. I wanted to do this stage correctly. I didn't want to get penalties. I didn't want to time out on it. I finished every stage this day so far without parring out, and I wanted to finish it. So now there were 4 letters and 4 numbers, and we had a list of letter number, and you had to engage 3 targets of the correct number from the correct letter. So I just went back, checked the note on my hand, made my 3 hits, and there we go. That is the end of Finnish Brutality 2024 for me, and it was a fantastic match.
Well, that is Finnish Brutality 2024. It is officially a wrap. Varusteleka and Jarilainen put on a freaking amazing match. This was, like I said at the beginning, I honestly think this is the most fun, most enjoyable, best shooting competition I have ever been to. I don't have the scores yet, but I'm really happy with how I did. I only had a total of 4 penalties over the course of the whole match, which sounds like a lot. That's 240 seconds in penalties, but that is an explosion. That is like the best performance I've ever had in a Brutality. I had a great time with my RK62 M3. I had a great time with my Laugo Alien. It was awesome. So if you ever have the chance, absolutely do not miss an opportunity to get yourself to Finnish Brutality. If you need awesome combat gear, LARP gear, military equipment, a lot of you guys are in the military, hiking, outdoor clothing, merino wool, you name it, check out Varusteleka. They have an incredible amount of awesome stuff, and it's the stuff that I wear myself every day. They don't pay me for it. I don't have to. I wear it because it's awesome, and I love it. And they put on matches like this, which are a tremendous, tremendous amount of fun. Hopefully you guys really enjoyed these 2 videos. Thank you very much for watching.